Welcome to Retirement Rescue Radio, a show specifically designed to help retirees and pre-retirees maximize their financial efficiency so you can live the retirement lifestyle you've always imagined. Your host is Nate Miller, investment advisor representative and author of the CPR Retirement Rescue Roadmap. Nate discusses thoughts and ideas from some of today's most knowledgeable professionals in the field of finance. He offers strategies along the way to help you make better financial decisions so you can maximize your retirement. This is Retirement Rescue Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Retirement Rescue Radio. We've got another installment of Redneck Retirement Radio here. We've got Josh Miller, my brother, on. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good.
Good. Today we're going to be doing another episode of the Mailbag and the Windbag. The Mailbag is where we're getting the questions from. The Windbag is going to be me. So that is it. I guess, so Josh, I think you've got a list of questions from some people that have emailed in. You want to start with those? We just got
all right. So we're going to open this up, but where can they send a question if they want to ask you a question?
Best place is going to be Ask Nate at retirementrescueradio.com. That's Ask Nate at retirementrescueradio.com. That will get you into a possible future episode, and it'll get your question answered to the best of our ability without knowing your specific situation, but we can probably give you some directions to go.
Okay. All right. Well, jumping in here, the first question is Marlene says, we have the opportunity to refinance our house at a lower interest rate. But the problem is it would be a 15-year mortgage, and we only have 5 years left to pay now. We're 60 years old, and the idea of still having a house payment until we're 75 seems like a bad idea. What do you think?
Well, in this case, I would almost first ask, not what do I think, but what do you feel? How do you feel about that whole situation? Because just from the question, how it's worded itself, it sounds like you're already leaning one way, and it sounds like from a mental area, you don't want that extra payment. You would rather be done with it. So you've only got 5 years left to pay right now. Some of the questions I would ask, because first off, I can't give you the definitive answer without knowing a little bit more about your situation. But are you guys retired or not? You said you've got 5 years left to pay. Are you planning on retiring in 5 years? If you're planning on retiring in 5 years, you're still working right now, I'd say just keep paying it. I wouldn't go ahead and pay it off early, because most likely a lot of times if you're paying it off early, you're taking money from investments, and that could have tax ramifications. So I wouldn't recommend that. But honestly, if you've got your jobs, you and I don't know if you're married or not at this point, but you maybe a husband, maybe it does say we, right? We have our house. Okay. So I'm assuming that you're married here. So I would say let your human capital pay off the mortgage, not your financial capital pay off the mortgage. What I mean by that, you're working. That means you have human capital going on right now, you and your husband. So I would say just keep on working and let your job, the money you're making from there, pay for it without having to reduce your assets, because your assets are going to be finite. Whatever you have when you retire, that's what you're going to have. Your job, technically, as long as you're still working on it, that it's a money tree. That money's coming every single month. And so I would continue letting your human capital pay for it, not your financial capital pay for it.
Yeah, a lot of times, I don't know if it's every bank or whatever, but when you refinance, there's an upfront charge. So you got to see, all right, is that upfront charge going to be more than what we'd save in this, 5 or 15 years or whatever?
Exactly. And when you refinance also, mortgages are front loaded on their interest. And so, which means that if you refinance this, you're going to be paying, most of that payment is going to be all interest. It's not going to be principal. Right now, with 5 years left, you're paying down, most of your payment now is pretty much principal. And so it could be the best thing could be just to let it go out the next 5 years and then be done with it and never have to look back. That could be one of the better things. If you really want to find out, like I said, we would have to look at your situation a little bit more. There's always a link in here to schedule a 15-minute phone call with us. So you can do that too. But those are some things to think about.
All right. Next one is kind of a short question. Could be a short answer. Could be a long one. We'll see. Todd says, what's your opinion of flipping houses as an investment strategy?
Well, Todd, first I would say flipping is not an investment strategy. It could be a career strategy. It could be something that you do on the side as like a side hustle, but it is more like a job. It is not really investing. And plus, the first thing I would say is, depending on what your history is in the real estate industry, is this is just like anything else. You need to learn the ins and outs of it before you decide to go forward and do it, because there's a lot of ways that flipping houses can go wrong. Josh, you and I have history with rental, and kind of that was our plan with our very first thing that we did back in our early 20s. Was we planned on buying something, living in it for a couple of years, fixing it up, and then selling it, right? Because, sorry, I just hit the computer, because, we all know that real estate appreciates 6% per year, right? No, it doesn't. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. Here right now, it's crazy, right? Yeah. I would say it's been more than 6% at this point for this last year, but next year it could be horrible. It could go back down. Like my property value, whatever it is this year, could be a lot less next year, because the bubble maybe it will have burst by then. Right. And there's no more inventory. And now, instead of being a buyer's market, now it could be a seller's market. Who knows? So it's very cyclical, very cyclical. So as an investment strategy, no. Can you make a lot of money? Yes. So as a business strategy, maybe that's a great idea. But if you are just now entertaining the idea and then you're going to go out and try to buy a house and flip it, I would not do that. I would spend time listening to podcasts, find some people that you can maybe mentor with, that have history of flipping houses successfully, and get to know them, read books on it, and basically educate yourself before doing it. But I would not call it an investment strategy. I would say you could have it as an income generating machine, business, however you want to look at it. And then maybe some of the extra money that you make, you could invest that into different things. But it's not an investment strategy. It's more of a business.
Yeah, there's always a learning curve, and educating yourself on something is going to take either time or money or both. And definitely getting around that curve is going to be, it's going to cost.
Oh yeah, Josh. Well, when you and I had that horrible experience with our first rental / possible flip that we were trying to do. By the way, that was like before 2008 had happened. And so when we were planning on selling this dang thing, the housing market, the bottom fell out. Right. And so now we couldn't sell it for what we bought it for.
I think we bought it in like
we had money into it. What was that, Josh?
I think we bought it in like 06 or 07.
No, it was before that. Yeah.
Before that?
Yeah. Well, it was right around there. So yeah. But if I had let that stop me from continuing and getting it back into the rental real estate industry, or in, I guess, the rental real estate game, then all of that money that I paid in that bad transaction would literally have been lost. But I learned from it. And then I didn't get back into real estate investing until I probably spent about 2 years listening to different podcasts and reading different books about different strategies before finally deciding on a strategy that made sense for my particular goals. And so there was many years from that first time that we messed up to the time I got back in. But once I decided I wanted to get back in, it was another 2 years before I actually pulled the trigger on anything. And so, yeah, I would take that slow. You can make a lot of money in real estate fast, but you can lose a lot of money in real estate fast as well. And if you're not educated, that's when you can lose. Money always flows to those that are educated in those areas. That doesn't mean they have to have a 4-year degree. It just means they're educated in those areas.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right. So Ben says, I have a variable annuity that seems to have a nice income guarantee associated with it, but I've heard several people say that variable annuities are usually a bad deal. What am I missing?
You might not be missing anything. And you might. How do you like that answer? But so if it's got a really nice income guarantee, you know what? That could be a really good thing for you. So to say that all things are bad is a sweeping generalization. So to say that all annuities are bad is a sweeping generalization. To say all mutual funds are bad because they might have loads or higher transaction costs, that's a sweeping generalization. It's not truth. We've all eaten at a bad restaurant. That doesn't make all restaurants bad, right? we've all probably had some bad sushi. That doesn't make sushi bad. Sushi's phenomenal. I love sushi. Anyway, so I'm getting off topic here. If it's got a really nice income guarantee associated with it, there were actually a lot of variable annuities a long time ago that I want to use the term, they were mispriced for the better for the consumer, actually. So now, since things have happened, volatility in the markets, they're trying to buy out some of those extra benefits. And when somebody wants to buy something out, there's probably a reason that benefits them more than it does you. So at that point, yeah, this could be a really good thing for you. You might be hard pressed to find something at this point that could offer a better income guarantee, but that's why we offer an annuity X-ray. If there is anything about a certain annuity that isn't the right thing for you, or if there is something better on the market today, because companies are always initiating. Josh, help me out here. I've got a brain fart going on the word.
Getting better.
What?
Getting better?
Well, yeah, getting better.
Improving?
They're improving, yes. And the word, it's like
innovating.
Innovating. There we go. Gosh, why could I not think about that? So yeah, that's not the first signs of Alzheimer's for you, my clients that are listening. This happens a lot. It's like I just sometimes will forget just normal, easy to use words. It's not even $100 word, right? But I'm forgetting what it is. So yes, so companies are always innovating, and there could be something that maybe could give you a higher income amount. But if not, that's why we do our annuity X-ray, because we can look at that. And thankfully, since I consulted so many financial advisors all across the country and got familiar with so many different retirement products and especially different types of annuities, we can tell pretty quickly whether or not something that you have is good, is bad, or is ugly. And so if you want to have that annuity X-ray, I'd suggest going ahead and just, setting up a meeting for that 15-minute phone call. If it goes any farther than that, we probably will have to see some statements of it just to find out what those guarantees are and if there is anything better that we can do. But it's possible, but you know what? It may not necessarily. Don't just believe what other people say just because they have an opinion on something. The person that has an opinion will always be at the mercy of those that have the facts.
Yep. And we've had several podcast episodes about annuities and details on there. And we also have our other YouTube channel, the Miller Retirement Group website channel, or YouTube channel has several shorter videos on annuities as well. So definitely check out as much as you can on those.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next. Teresa says, I have $16,000 remaining on a student loan for my daughter. I have the money to pay it off, but it's currently not accruing any interest and payments are temporarily suspended because of the pandemic. Should I just let it sit there for now?
Kind of sounds like it.
Yeah,
no interest.
Working somewhere else.
No interest accruing on it at this point. You have the money to pay it off, but if there's no interest, yeah, maybe put that money to work somewhere else. I mean, granted, it is only $16,000. So, $16,000, whether it's paying a couple percent interest or it's earning 6-7% interest. I mean, at that point, the dollar amounts aren't really all that big. And so once again, it goes to finding out, well, where are you at? What's your stage of life? When are you planning on retiring? Is that $16,000 coming out of savings, or is it coming out of investments? Is it coming out of 401k or an IRA that might have tax consequences? So that would be the question. And I mean, it sounds like that's a pretty quick and easy question that if we found out a little bit more about your situation that we could answer. But yeah, I mean, at this point, yeah, it's like you might just let it sit there for a little bit longer. And if that money is earning a higher interest rate, that seems to be where it's at, where it should be. So yeah, I'd kind of just maybe let it sit there for a little while.
You kind of see a lot of people in this boat where they're just trying to navigate, okay, well, I haven't necessarily been adversely affected by the pandemic, but there are some tax benefits and some things being thrown at me that might be advantageous. So like, should I take advantage of these or not?
Yeah, so that is a good question, and kind of how I've looked at this, because I've had to answer this question not only for myself, but a lot of people have asked about that kind of stuff. And the answer is, I think that if something is thrown at you as an advantage that you could take advantage of, a benefit that you could take advantage of, is yeah. Because here's the thing, especially early on in the pandemic, when we didn't know how long this was going to last. We didn't know how long the shutdown was going to last. And especially for some of those industries that were hit hard, even if their specific business might have been less affected, some of the stimulus packages like the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, which helped out some small businesses, and some of those disaster loans that the Small Business Administration may have put through that had like no interest at all for like a year. And then maybe or no payments for a year, and then 1% interest on that going forward. And if that could have helped somebody stay in business, even though maybe at that point, once again, because we don't have 2020 foresight, we only have 2020 hindsight. If they're looking at their situation going, I don't know how we're going to make it without that, or maybe we're okay now, but I don't know how long this is going to last. So I'm almost looking at that as insurance in case something future does happen that I'm not quite, ready for or set up for. And so I would say in certain situations that some of those things that are thrown at you, I would say, yeah, go ahead and try to take advantage of those.
Yeah, definitely take a look at them.
Mm-hmm.
The details. So,
yeah.
All right. Last one for today. Clara says, I was furloughed about 4 months ago this year because the state required my employer to close. We're back at work now, and I received unemployment during those 4 months, and it just occurred to me that I didn't have any taxes withheld from it. Am I going to end up paying some penalties on this?
Maybe, maybe not. That all depends. Because while you're working, you have taxes withheld from your paycheck. I'm going to assume you did. Because most people do. And so that may have been sufficient based off of what your situation is. Once again, I don't know what your tax situation actually looks like. So whether you're married or single, how much your husband's having withheld, how much you're having withheld. I don't know any of that stuff, but it's stuff that we can figure out. And also, if it's something that you are worried about, you can also send in an estimated payment to the government. And that could take care of any possible penalties. And so it just all depends on what your tax situation looks like, how much you've had withheld from other places, and whether or not that's going to cause any kind of a penalty.
All right.
You'll end up getting a refund. Who knows, right? Maybe you've got 4 kids, so you've got a heck of a lot of child tax credits that you could take advantage of, or the exemptions are gone, but they do have that increased child tax credit. So maybe that helps out. And maybe your husband's withholding a lot because he makes a lot. I don't know. Maybe you're withholding a lot because you made a lot in your job. Who knows? So it is definitely, there's a little bit more digging in that has to happen to find out whether or not you actually will owe any penalties or not. Because let's say the tax owed on that was, say, $1,500, but you were going to get a $2,000 refund. Yeah, no.
All right. All right, so that's it for today. Remind them again where they can go to if they want to ask you a question.
Yep, ask Nate at retirementrescueradio.com. That's where you go.
All right.
Most likely we'll end up answering it on here.
All right, this episode of Redneck Retirement, Rescue Retirement is about over.
Yep, I'd say we're good to go. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And not only did we have to, people already think we're twins, even though, we look alike. There's definitely some similarities. You had to go and wear the same dang color shirt as me today. That just makes it even that much more difficult, man. People just look at us and go, twins? Definitely. Right. Your nose is bigger than mine. Come on.
So is my ears.
Yep.
So are my feet.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm still taller though. Got you there. All right. So that's it. Before we get into a sibling rivalry here, we should probably just shut this down. All right, guys. Tune in next week. We're always trying to bring you content to help empower you to live the retirement you deserve. Take care.